Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another Horror Film Lovers. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got an awesome show for you guys. We got my co-host, Sarah Adkins here. How you doing, Sarah?
Howdy, howdy.
All right,
I'm
and
here.
we got a special
And
guest.
I
He's been on the
brought,
show a couple of times now. Cody Hancock. How you doing, Cody?
I'm doing well. How about y'all?
I'm doing great.
yeah,
I'm
That's
really
awesome.
excited. Had not seen this movie since it first came out, but I remembered loving it when it first came out, and my opinion has not changed. So this
it
is
was
called.
our first time watching it. So,
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into
Right.
that. I'm excited to talk about that. But so yeah, I the movie that we picked was I picked is Oculus, made in 2013, directed by Mike Flanagan, who you might know from a little movie called Doctor Sleep. He also is one of the executive producers of like the Haunting of Hill House, I guess.
okay.
All the Netflix kind of stuff. Produces a lot of stuff. He just did. There was a book or that I think I want to say it was Christopher Pike, but it could be something else. But he's produced a bunch of films or a bunch of TV shows for Netflix. So he also is the producer of Midnight Mass, and I think he directed some of the episodes of that. He also the Midnight Club. I don't know if you guys heard of that one. But it's getting some
Is that
attention.
on Shudder?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Netflix.
Netflix.
Okay.
Okay.
See, I don't watch a whole lot of any sort of paranormal activity stuff that often, unless it's recommended. So,
Well, the Midnight Club follows a group of 8
Mhm.
terminally ill patients at Brightcliff Hospice who begin to gather together at midnight to share scary stories.
Okay, I did see that one as recommended on Netflix. That's a new one.
Yeah.
Is it a comedy?
No.
Sorry.
It's but it sounds very much like Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I think it's
Okay.
Yeah.
they're kind of
Yeah,
like Are You
that's
Afraid of the
actually
Dark?
one of the things on my watch list.
But we had done a Mike Flanagan movie before. We did Before I Wake last season. So this was the second one of his, and that we did. And we also need to eventually on Netflix. There's a movie called Hush, and we'll probably do that at some point. Maybe if we do. I don't think I wrote that down on my list though of movies. But yeah, so this movie was basically the first Mike Flanagan horror film, like feature film, and it was sort of the one that kind of put him on the map. And from what I've understood, sort of like Jeff and Mike, Mike is a huge horror fan, I think, and Jeff really isn't. But when they got together to write this movie, they were thinking, like, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of bad movies out, but bad horror films out there,
Oh yeah.
and these get a lot of attention and they get whatever. And I'm pretty sure they thought to themselves, I can do something really good for the horror, world or whatever. And so they brought something different to it that not a lot of people had sort of seen, right? And one of the things that they brought to it, I think, is the idea of trauma. It wasn't just about like a haunted house or something,
Right. That's where I see it as a good psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just about paranormal activity and ghosts in the house and spirits. It was also about a lot of PTSD and trauma and abuse and issues like that as well.
And dealing with a lot of hallucinations and
Right.
trying to differentiate your hallucination from reality. So I mean that played a huge part in just upping the thrill factor.
Interestingly enough, speaking of paranormal activity, they were asked, or Mike was asked to kind of make this as a found footage film.
Okay.
Now I could sort of see where that could have happened,
Right.
but I'm glad he didn't go that route.
I can see the idea behind that, but I'm glad that it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, I think I would have hated the movie had it been found footage. I hate found footage
movies, though. Like, because Cloverfield was an awesome movie. I mean, like the Blair Witch Project, that was all fun, but I'm really glad that they took a like an actual theatrical turn with this film.
Well, yeah, because I think there's angles you just wouldn't have gotten, or perspectives you wouldn't have gotten if it was a found footage film. Because found footage would have just been whatever was on the camcorder, and you can't really do that in this one because the images they were seeing on film and being recorded were reality, where what was happening in their eyes was changed by the paranormal activity. So there were two different views, because you remember a lot of it, what they were actually showing and seeing was not actually what was going on in real life, because the camera was showing reality versus their own mind.
Why didn't they just bring the cameras around everywhere they went? You know,
I don't know.
That was
a thing. I don't know why they didn't have GoPro strapped to themselves.
Oh, but this is
cell phone.
Yeah, I guess 2013 where GoPro was a big thing back then.
I don't know, but I know like the whole issue was that the power was going out and stuff, but like I don't remember how she had everything set up to where like the camera still recorded when the power went out.
They were on batteries.
It was on a battery, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess the in this particular movie, the spirit liked to screw with electricity and anything that, clocks, cameras, whatever. So
but it also fed on
fed on life forces around it and stuff like that, which we'll divulge into when you get further into it. But
yeah, I mean, which I thought was a pretty neat kind of thing, where the idea of a spirit inside the mirror that basically you never see the spirit,
right.
Which I think is creepier than actually seeing the spirit. If you saw what the spirit actually looked like,
Right.
I
you
think
saw the souls that were taken by the spirit.
Exactly. Okay, so I guess let's get into the storyline. So we kind of start off in the beginning of the movie with kind of a little flashback / basically it was a dream, that the kid was having, where he was holding the gun, or he wasn't holding the gun originally, supposedly, but then in this one he was holding the.
Your audio went out on our end.
We can't hear you.
Oh,
there you go. You're back.
okay. Sorry about that. What I was saying is like he had the gun in his hand or whatever in the dream.
Right.
Then later he what is it? Later he didn't have the gun. He had the gun at the dream later, where he was ending up what is it? Crap, how do you explain it? Like in the dream he was holding the gun, and this was what saved him.
He's a psychiatric patient at this point, trying to be released from the mental institution, and he's talking to the psychiatrist about how I've had this reoccurring dream, and this time I was the one holding the gun, and that was the first time I actually saw myself holding the gun, and he was holding the gun at his younger self and his younger sister. Which you don't really know what that's about at first until they divulge into it, and it turns out that is them, because when they first show that scene, you don't know that that's the younger them, you kind of learn that.
You don't have a clue, but so you find out that this kid's like, I guess it's his 21st birthday. He's being released, and he's going to his sister is gonna meet up with him and everything, and his sister has found the mirror that basically she believes is the essence of evil,
of her parents' mental outbreak and the murder of her mother and her father going mad and all the stuff that happened with their children. Like she knows that this mirror is evil and that's what caused it, and she's hell-bent on revenge and getting this proof of this mirror that she's not crazy.
And before we dive too much further, I just want to point out how crazy hard it was to get used to the A and B of the timeline.
Oh my god, I was feeling the same thing, because generally you don't get that, right? You get one or the other. I just feel the transition was rocky, and once you understood the transition, it was okay, but they could have done better easing and making us understand the flashing back.
Right.
But as the synopsis goes, so she finds the mirror, and her brother just got released.
He got released, and she found the mirror, and she tells him she found it and she's going to kill him like tomorrow or tomorrow night. That was the plan. And at first he wants nothing to do with this because he thinks
Right.
he feels like he's moved on. Right.
Well, not to mention in the psych ward, they were teaching him that, hey, the mirror's not evil, and trying to help him heal and get over it. And in his mind, it's a normal mirror, and his father was a deranged murderer who tortured their mother.
Now, if he had just convinced her to leave it alone somehow, and they just left it alone, never touched the mirror, never whatever, the mirror just went to somebody else's house, which is going to anyway, they would have been fine. It's not like the mirror could have.
No, this is all her fault.
Yeah, this is all her fault.
It's all her fault. She ruined his life.
She ruined his life twice, or I guess, I mean,
or the parents who bought the mirror the first time fucked up the first time. But yes, she definitely could have just been happy that her brother was released, had him back, and moved on, and they both would still be alive. And but no, she was. Her mind was possessed by this mirror and taken over by it, and she just couldn't get over it. So she goes to an antique auction. She gets this mirror back from her childhood home that she thinks is the demon, notices it's cracked, and she's like, oh, I hope that still hurts. I bet you're hungry. They taunt each other. Her and the mirror just play with each other.
One of my little favorite scenes in the movie is where she's looking in the mirror, and she can, in the beginning where she first sees it and everything, and it like has the it looks like ghosts
over them. Yeah, they look like ghosts.
They look like ghosts. They kind of move. Yeah, and it was creepy. Like I was expecting something to jump out. Or whatever.
I think a lot of this movie was about trying to make you think there was going to be a jump scare and just cringe. Like nails and biting into stuff, which we'll get to in a second. But I think this movie was less about gore and more about jump scares and cringe and just keeping you like, what is that?
Because when the third bust showed up and it turned its head,
right,
and that was
it's
one
like,
of those.
It's like you just wonder, is she gonna pull it off, and is it gonna jump at her? You're just waiting for stuff to jump at her.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yep, you're waiting for things to jump, but then somebody comes in and just makes her jump or whatever.
Interrupts it. Yeah.
Interrupts it, and then like
time skip.
What was that?
And then the first time skip where it shows the person that you learn as her younger family comes with the mirror.
Yeah, because they were doing the time skip of her buying the mirror and her mother buying the mirror and putting it in the house kind of at the same time.
Well, it wasn't the mother.
That's why I was getting confused.
It was the father bought the mirror because
the mom was talking about wanting antique pieces and stuff like that. So I know they were talking about it and they moved in the house, they put it in his office. So I wasn't 100% clear whose idea it was.
Right.
Well, I think because I got it as the father's idea because there's that one point where she looks at him and says, and it's actually one of my favorite little little scenes, but like she's saying to him, was I gonna find this about this now, or or on my Visa card, or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
And then he said, it was coming with a set, or whatever, that I was, it hasn't come yet, right? Just kind of joking around with them. By the way, that actor is Rory Cochrane is one of my favorite actors. He was in a movie called Empire Records, and he's been in so much, and everything, but like I had no idea. I forgot he was in this movie. And when I saw him, I was like, that guy looks familiar. So I looked it up and I was, holy crap, and
we looked up the cast too, because the wife is from Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
The adult son is from Pirates of the Caribbean. He's the kid. And then the adult redhead is from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, she's Nebula or whatever.
Yes.
And it's so funny because I was watching some of the things and I'm like, that just doesn't even sound like her, when she plays Nebula. But yeah, she plays Nebula and does a great job.
So they had a good cast, for the main characters.
Yeah, for the main characters, for everybody. Like everybody, I thought did a did a fantastic job. I mean, even the two little kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, the kids did a great job in it.
Yeah, they were
They will
wonderful
never be the
because
same.
what was that?
They'll never be the same.
No. You know, working on a movie like this, it's got to be really hard, period, for all
Yeah.
these actors because they all have to go through like some really tough scenes, you know.
Yeah.
Especially involving the mirror where and you know, when you think about it, if somebody tried to pitch this, right? Somebody was like, I want to make a movie. It's going to be about a haunted mirror. You're probably looking at them, that doesn't sound very scary, you know, right? Because like a haunted mirror, like what can you do with the mirror, you know? But they did a lot.
Such thing as a black mirror, you know, they're possessed mirrors, kind of like a divot box, you know, where they trap souls into mirrors and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's other movies out there similar.
I like in the beginning though, where she first sees the mirror again, and she notices the crack that they did, which was, I guess, from a gunshot.
The very end.
Yeah, when he shoots the dad and the dad falls into the mirror, it cracks.
Yep. So there you go, and just, I mean,
spoiler alert.
Well, I mean,
the movie, you're not supposed to be watching this. But yeah, like I said, when she first finds the mirror again at the antique place, she sees that crack and she's like, I hope it still hurts.
Yeah,
you know,
which I thought was a great line.
She talks to it, man. She knows that the mirror is alive. So like she gets it from the antique store and she sets it up in their old house, which apparently is still on the market. And she talks about being in a foster home and stuff like that. Convinces her brother to come, sets all this equipment up, has food ready, has water ready, has all these routines, has extra light bulbs, all this stuff.
The history of the mirror.
The history with the photos of all the people that have passed away.
I mean, she was ready.
She wanted to prove that this mirror's existence was. Even had a kill switch with the anchor to smash the mirror if the mirror happened to kill them. That way the mirror wouldn't kill them because they had to keep resetting it, you know, which we'll get into more of that later. But for the synopsis, you know, because I know we keep getting lost, like that's basically it. Like this mirror haunts this fucking family, ruins them, and then she just wants to prove it. She wants that revenge. She wants proof. She doesn't want to sound crazy. You know, she wants her brother to witness it, gets him tangled up in all this and ruins his life again.
Well, one of the things, like taglines in the movie is it's like it makes you see what it wants you to see.
Right.
It does. And it does. Like throughout the whole movie, you know, you're not sure what is real because you're seeing it through their stuff or what's fake, you know. So she has her boyfriend calling her every hour on the hour to make sure that he's, you know, that they're still alive. And she also told him that apparently was to check up on her brother, which I thought was kind of fucked up.
She didn't want to tell him the real reason why he was calling. You know, she didn't want to be like, hey, babe, I think the mirror's crazy. I'm going to prove it. Call me every hour. You know, she was just kind of like, hey, my brother just got released from the mental institution. I'm going to be hanging out with him. Call me every hour to make sure he didn't go crazy and kill me. And the brother's just like, thanks, sis.
Yeah, thanks.
Like, well, I needed the cover story. I'm sorry, but, you know.
Yeah, she didn't care really because really her whole thing the whole time was you know, making sure that, you know, there's even one great like little line where they had to both put the mirror inside the house, it's a heavy ass mirror and everything together. And he was like, how would you have done this, you know, had I not shown up? And she was like, well, I wasn't expecting you not to show up, you know?
Yeah. He's like, how are you going to do this by yourself? She's like, I wasn't. I knew you would be here. Why do you think you're here?
Yeah. And that was good. I thought that was amazing. So
but even the mirror was delusioning them, because when after a while, once the mirror took over, because it, you know, like after they fed it and it started to get some powers, it's like it was controlling her phone. She didn't know what phone call was real and what phone call was fake, you know. And sometimes she would have to use her phone to use the camera to see if what was in front of her was real or not. It had total control. But do you want to talk about how to feed the mirror, Jonathan?
So we had a talk about this earlier, and
because me and you have stated many times that we are very sensitive to pet
animals.
deaths because we love animals.
Yeah.
We do love pets and animals, and
so thankfully no animals were harmed in this movie, and they didn't show any gore with the animals. So yay.
well, one animal
Just
was
some sad
harmed, but we
whimpering,
never
some
saw
sad
it.
whimpering. Yeah, we saw some sad whimpering, but no.
Well,
like,
no, I'm saying like
people.
the one dog from the beginning, like 11 years earlier or whatever,
Yeah.
he disappeared, but they never saw the dog get eaten or anything, and there was
Right.
no.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I'm glad we didn't in the movie, like the movie
Right.
viewers. I'm glad we didn't get to see any gore with that.
But in
It did point that that the dog's disappearance was because the dog was getting sick, so they took him to the vet.
yeah,
right, but
that was
didn't, though.
He didn't though. That was what the one kid was told or whatever, what he saw.
Right. The
So
son believes that. The
son believes that.
That's what he was tricked to see, whereas the daughter sat by that room and knew the dog never came out. So the mirror gets fed. Explain how the mirror, we feed the mirror.
I mean, I guess you just the mirror just eats the things. You don't really see it. I mean, he eats like plants, so he takes like your life force, I guess. But it also like, okay, so to use the dog thing as an example, we were talking about how she bought a dog, I guess. Just
this Boston Terrier.
Yeah,
poor dog, but also didn't name him because she didn't want to feel connected to him at all. So she just called him Dog. And he even says, like, you have a dog named Dog. And she was like, he doesn't have a name yet. So
I have a friend who has a dog named Dog because they didn't expect to keep it, but now it's their dog forever.
Right. And you might as well call it. Was it in Hawkeye, the dog's called Pizza Dog, until it gets the name Cosmo later. But like, I think that's cute, At
first she didn't really know why she had this dog, but then she explains it.
She explains it, and basically it's bait, and it was a bait to show that this thing, will eat it. So she has it covered, and you could hear the dog whimpering the whole time. Mm-hmm. Like there's something obviously he's scared of. And
his life force is like being drained away, and he's getting weak, and that's apparently what it does to animals.
Right. So, I mean, he was weak, but like when they opened that gate or whatever, opened up the cage, it ran.
It didn't have enough time to really eat him. It just had enough for a taste for him. But the dog they had when they were a kid definitely drained it to the point where it couldn't get up and walk and disappeared.
That's true.
Thankfully, the brother was like, I don't know what you're doing to this dog, but I'm going to let it go because the only threat to it right now is you.
Right. So he lets it go, and it runs off and goes out to the world or whatever, which, I mean, I just hope it found a good home.
Right.
in the universe and the thing.
Right.
We got like Paul and I are big critter lovers and stuff too, and we've talked about the movie Zombievers. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
I've seen it.
But they throw the dog in the thing, and like it get eaten by all the, and we were like, oh my god, that was one of our like least favorite scenes in the movie. And the girl who's in it, Courtney Palm, commented that we should be vegans because we got such good love for animals. I love eating meat. I don't love
I love eating meat, but I don't want the pets who are non-edible meats to be sacrificed.
Yeah, exactly. Especially to a mirror that and especially just to prove a point.
So we'll just assume that at the end when the police come, the dog just comes up to the house and goes, yeah, officers, it was those guys right there. They tried to feed me to this mirror. And when he gets taken home by a sweet guy, and he's good.
I just think he just ran out and he found a nice home. Somebody was like, oh, what a cute dog.
To the house by younger.
So
that scene with the neighbor, that was a little, you're sitting there yelling at your TV at that scene. I don't know if you were, but we were. When young her escaped, when her dad was being abusive, and went and got the neighbor and brought the neighbor over. I'm sorry, if the little girl comes to your house, a neighbor saying, hey, my dad's got my mom locked up and he's scaring us. He didn't even go in and be like, show me your wife, show me proof. Like, had he even investigated a little, he would have known the dad's hand was super bloody and up there. Like, but he just was like, oh, yeah, kids will be kids. Sorry, your wife is sick. I was like,
yeah, we'll go play golf later. You know,
right. If somebody says that something violent is happening, you can't just take the abuser's word for it and walk away, because guess what's going to happen when that door shuts? You went and told on me, huh?
I don't know, like, so I'm because the neighbor, right, happens to be really good friends with the guy and everything. So I wonder if he just didn't buy it, you know, like, because this is sort of out of left field for that thing. So maybe that the neighbor just felt like maybe it's a kid making up a story, but then again, you still do investigate.
What you do in your home, you know.
You still do investigate, but see, I would rather that they show a scene where she escapes and goes out and gets, you know, tries to get help, because remember they try calling people and the phones never work right.
And when she was a kid, she would call the doctor and stuff like that. And they'd be like, you need to have your parents, you need to have your dad call, like, because you're kids.
And then they do that again.
If I was her, I would have just called 911. Like,
it does it again when they're adults.
And one of the things, whenever they kept getting that, please have your dad call, they're like, it's the same voice that I keep hearing.
Yeah.
So it was the spirit of
the mirror was like
just
talking
started
through
taking
the phones,
over
I
the
guess.
electricity.
Yeah, but it was like saying, like, they said it again when they're adults too. And like, you know, and I thought that was hilarious, because it's like the mirror knows, like, hey, you know, I know who the fuck you are, and I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna keep fucking with you as an adult. You know,
I remember you.
Yeah, I remember you.
I got your parents in here.
I know.
And like, the later it got into the movie, when the possession started becoming more irate, and it showed the eyes start glowing.
Yeah.
That was very eerie.
Oh man, yeah.
That was just kind of the sign of, they're possessed.
Yeah.
Right.
Because at first in the movie, you didn't really know that the dad was really possessed yet, because it was just starting to talk to him. But, you know, as it progressed, you started to realize that, okay, so he is possessed. The mirror can control things in the house, and it drove him mad and do all this. And then what it did to the mom, man, she was a mess too after a while, those poor kids.
Because I mean, I think the first like true demonic thing it really showed us was when she opened the office to the door to see her dad, and then you saw the hand come onto the door frame, and then the head appeared from the like demon.
The demon chick lady that, you know, was the other woman, you know. His wife thought he was having an affair, but it was just this ghost spirit chick in there, like messing with him.
Well, because it all started with she, like, the one little girl saw like a woman and was like, who's that woman that was over at your office? And the father was like, I don't know, what you're talking about, because he didn't, because there was no woman.
Yeah. But of course the wife's just like, yeah, honey, who was that woman in your office?
Yeah.
The things got more and more like malicious as it went on.
Well, there was also one point where, like, you know, he was like, I told you guys to stay out of this office. And they're like, we don't go in this office. It scares us.
Oh, when it made the books lined up to the mirror. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, who did this then? You know, I heard you guys downstairs. And I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. I was like, I kind of wish that they had showed us that scene with like them like hearing the stuff and everything, because that would have been so creepy, of like them, you know, upstairs in the bedroom, and then, you know, I would have loved that.
Yeah. And it was an interesting transition into going from past to present to blending the two, to where it was showing the past and the present kind of combined, where present, then we're walking into a room, but also walking into the past scene happening, and kind of the past selves kind of thinking they lock eyes, but, you know, you don't know if they do, and stuff like that.
I feel like that was to play into part with how like the PTSD mind works, or of just like, I'm still in that trauma.
Right. Not to mention, I'm sure the spirit in the mirror was also showing them a lot of stuff, because the spirit in the mirror kept throwing the spirit of the mother back out at them.
Hmm. That was pretty crazy.
And you had
Uh,
to get what it wanted.
it,
It
I
just
mean,
wanted a hug in the end, and it got it.
Yeah.
well, so yeah, all
Faithful hug.
all this all this spirit or whatever kind of wants is your soul, you know, the souls of all the
Yeah.
people. And I loved, we talked about it briefly, but I loved when she's discussing the stuff in the video of all
Past
the
victims.
different people that have
Right.
dealt all the research she did on this.
The woman who died of dehydration in her bathtub.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
He's like, it's weird stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it never really discusses like where the spirit comes from necessarily.
Mm-mm.
I guess it just existed, you know, which I think is, I mean, I think if they give too much information and stuff, it kind of
Because she explained where it got its name, who the original owner was,
was
and the history
Lasser,
of it,
right?
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was Lasser because like the production company at the end of the film, their LLC, because like when you make a movie, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but when you make a movie, you have to create an LLC to start with, right? And this is just to protect everybody, you know. This LLC is just to like make sure that nobody gets sued for whatever this and this and this and that. But you have to make something goofy sounding, you know, whatever, something that's probably hasn't already been created. And I think like theirs is like Lasser Productions and you know, LLC or something. And I thought that was pretty funny that they use that at the end. And what is it? And the whole, like, by the way, that mirror is in a bunch of Mike Flanagan's movies.
Oh, really?
It shows up. So let me
like an Easter egg.
It is. It's an amazing Easter egg. I love it. But the I did not know about that till today, and now I'm like, now I gotta go watch all of his movies that have this and just see where it is. It's kind of like the Hitchcock shows up and you know, or where's Waldo? Where's the mirror? The Lasser mirror. But it was okay because I found it in the trivia section. Okay, so director Mike Flanagan has included the Oculus mirror as an Easter egg. There you go, as you said, in most of his movies and TV shows. It's in the basement of a Ouija Origin of Evil.
Okay.
It's on the headboard in Gerald's game.
I've seen that.
It's in the walls of the Haunting of Hill House. And it's also in the Overlook Hotel in Dr. Sleep.
Okay. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that because I've seen Gerald's game, and that was a pretty good one too. I didn't
actually watch Dr. Sleep.
You never seen it?
Shining. No, I love The Shining too.
I've seen it, but I watched it when it first came out, so I'll just have to rewatch it with him.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Maybe we'll do that eventually.
Then. Yeah, we'll look for the mirror then. So, like I said, this movie, like, I thought of it more of a psychological thriller than horror, because it's labeled as like a horror thriller, and I can't remember what the third category was, but thriller was in there.
Yeah, it's a psychological thriller.
It kept you on the seat, on the edge of your seat. It was very good about keeping suspense in the air, but most of what the horror was the disturbing images.
Right, and that's what I was about to say is like I feel like the horror aspect was it was more about your being on the edge and being psychological. I like the horror aspect of it not necessarily being your typical like blood, guts, and gore. Like they didn't really show dismembered bodies so much. It was the cringe moments, which the cringe moments are like the only thing in horror that get me like teeth biting, like biting my nails.
And technically it was a game about survival too, because I mean they were trying to survive against this mirror spirit thing.
Yeah, but
which they didn't need to in the end.
Yeah, right.
Like, at the end, they just let it go.
To go mirror it in the first place. But those cringe moments were the ones that always like I said, seeing a dismembered body in horror is so done. That's like it doesn't really bug me. But this movie, I liked that it wasn't a horror movie sense where it had a bunch of dismemberment. It was just creepy and cringy. So that the moment where he was picking trying to pick his fingernail, and he thought he didn't realize he already took the Band-Aid off, and then went back to try to get that Band-Aid off with the staple remover, and it was already off, and just dug into his nail. That was a cringe moment. The other cringe moment was the apple, which I was about to ask you. What did you think about that whole apple scene with the light bulb? Like, did that get you? Did you think she really bit into the apple or the light bulb? Like, did you believe that she bit into the light bulb, or that it was a hallucination?
I believed it was a hallucination, but I wasn't sure,
Right.
and that was the thing. Like, throughout it, I was just like, I'm not sure what's going on. There was a couple of those scenes, like the biting of the nails, and then he tried to take off the first he took off the Band-Aid, put it to the side, then it's on one of his other fingers, and then he tries to pull it off with like these I don't know what the
little teeth that remove the staples.
Yeah, staple remover. But I'm like, why does he need that? And
it's just him being, I guess, controlled into thinking these things, and he gouges them. That was the first moment, because we've all ripped a nail, so we all felt. I feel like that's one of those moments where you feel it, because we've all done something similar.
And
when the mom was eating the porcelain plate.
You hear it crunch. I guess that's how her teeth got broken out.
Yeah.
But that apple scene, though, it's like you saw her with the apple, and you saw her change the light bulbs, and you saw her set it down next to light bulbs, and you just knew. You knew in your head, oh, she's gonna pick up the bulb. She's gonna pick up the bulb and not the apple. And then you hear the crunch of the glass, and her just pull it out of her mouth and stuff like that, just shaking. And then all of a sudden, it's an apple again. Yeah. I thought that was a very, very nice cringe horror moment that was very simple, but it did its job for me.
Yeah.
Exactly. There was a lot of like those things, but because the whole idea of this movie is like, you even the audience doesn't know what's real, what's not, which does go to the psychological elements of it. And even the psychological elements of this movie includes the him, like the what is it? Just the guy, the brother coming back, and all of a sudden he knows so much about psychology,
right?
And he starts sort of using that against her, right? And so trying to prove his point of like, you only think you know what you saw, but you didn't actually see anything.
This is what I learned, and this is what they told me. This is how I coped with it. Let me help you.
All right.
She gets aggro for a minute there when the plants are dead. Oh, look, another plant, and bust the pot, which she's going to regret doing, because when she has her psychological meltdown where she's seeing her mom, she's seeing the broken plate, she's like, this isn't real, this isn't a real broken plate on the ground. And then her man shows up, which I don't know if it's her fiance or her boyfriend or husband, I don't remember, but they live together.
Fiance or boyfriend.
When he shows up and she grabs that porcelain, and she thinks it's the mother's spirit coming after her and stabs it. She's like, no, this can't be real, because the plate wasn't real. And it's like, I mean, you busted the pot, and guess what? That wasn't a plate. That was the planter from the pot. So is this real? Is this not real?
And it never really showed.
I don't know if we ever really figured it out, because she went with the camera to see if it was real, and his dead body was there.
Right.
So.
And he saw it too. Which.
Right. So I think it's a good possibility that he was really there.
And it showed him with the glowing eyes, like in the same room as the mirror. So it very well could be he got suspicious, came over, and lost his life.
You want to make sure everything was okay, check up on her and everything. And but then she gets the call from him.
Right after. But it could be the house.
So it was the ghost, or whatever, the spirit, using his voice, because if you listen to it, he sounded really weird. It didn't sound like his typical call or whatever. It sounded like, okay, whatever.
And because he was getting irritated, because he's a cool, great chat, I'll call you again in an hour. She's like, I'm sorry, bye. Yeah, she was being really short and to the point, and he didn't know what she was doing, so he just thought she was being a bitch about it. He's like, okay, cool, great chat, I'll call you again in an hour.
Yeah. Well,
She was
she didn't
on
want
Mitch
to
in the
talk too
whole fucking
long
movie.
anyway, because there's no, you know,
Right.
she needs to keep.
Yeah, she couldn't, but she couldn't explain that to him. So
Yep,
he
she
was
couldn't
just
explain
like,
that to him.
okay.
So,
Which would make a good reason for him to want to come over there and check on her too, though.
Right.
now this being your guys' first time watching it, period. Like, what was your overall take on it?
You want to go first, or you?
Let me think about mine.
I mean, like I said, I don't watch a whole lot of Paranormal Activity movies, but I did enjoy this one. My overall take was that it was, like I said, it was a little confusing transitioning between the timelines at first, but once I understood what was happening,
Right.
then I felt it went more smoothly. I wish that transition would have been a little easier at first, but once it did hit, it went smoothly. And I thought it had a lot of good cringe moments, and it had really good acting in it, and the story actually wasn't bad at all. Like the ending wasn't bad or anything. So for being my first time watching it, I was like, okay, I don't normally watch paranormal movies, but I do like this one, and it is something that I'll be like, okay, yeah, this is cool with me. I like this movie.
Well,
And
you
I mean, personally, the paranormal movies are some of the scariest ones, I think, because they're like the only thing you can't run from are things that you can't see, things that you don't know are there. So that brought this movie, gave it a little bit more depth. But I do wish that the differentiation of the timelines was a little more explained.
Yeah. And like the not being able to run from it and stuff, like in theory in that world is a lot scarier than being able to try to outwit an actual like murderer or something. But right. Since I don't believe in paranormal anything, for me they're not scary, and I don't think of it like that. I think of it and watch it more of a perspective of the art of, oh, they did a good job with this. Okay, this they did a good job with the effects. They did a good job with the story. I see it more as looking at it as a critic rather than actually like trying to have any sort of emotion with it, like, because I just don't feel the emotion with it because I just don't believe in it.
Okay.
So
I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts on why the two transitions and everything works really well, as opposed to like if they had showed one and then showed the other or whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad they did it the way they did it. It just was confusing in the beginning.
Because
do you know why they did it?
Kind of expecting the 20 years or like the 10 years earlier,
like a little notation at the bottom.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, no, they did that. They did that. They said 11 years earlier. Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, I did. I just
yeah. So they did say that. They did say that when they first brought them, like not the first shot or whatever, but like later when they have the house for the first time, they said 11 years earlier, which I thought was really good. But yeah, so I can understand if you didn't see that or didn't catch it, like it being a problem. Thing is, did you know, and this is going to be sort of funny sounding, but both of those scenes, both of those times mirrored each other.
Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier.
Well,
I liked how they transitioned to where the times were mirroring each other, where it's like they were both kind of in the same dimension almost, in their mind.
They were mirroring each other, and they're talking about a mirror. Like I felt like that was kind of a cool, like little thing where it was sort of like, okay, so these characters when they were younger are dealing with basically the same thing now as they're older,
Right.
And so they are dealing with the same exact issues. They even have to deal with their mom and dad back again and stuff, because their mom and dad come after them because there's still spirits in the house. I don't know why they went to the same house. Did they have to? I mean,
I don't think they necessarily had to. I think they just she wanted to.
I guess she wanted to come full circle. What was that?
I think the house was still theirs from the estate.
Right.
So I think it was just...
I think she just had the idea of she wanted to get this proof, and she wanted some sort of maybe closure. So maybe she just decided that it would be the best place, considering that's where it all happened.
Yeah.
Because it obviously can happen anywhere, because it happened in all those other places with all those other people.
It was so funny because when she said I want you to meet me at the house, right? He was like, okay, where do you live now? She
Right. She's
goes,
like,
no,
no,
the
the
house,
house.
the house where it
Yeah.
all started.
I don't blame her. I
Basically,
wouldn't want to bring this thing into my house.
yeah, true.
Let's
Because
bring it to
like,
the house we already know it had issues with.
yeah, because
The
now I
empty
mean it
house. Let's
already
not
had
bring it to our
souls in that
house.
house.
Yeah, let's not bring the voodoo magic over to the new house. Mm-mm.
And that
Yeah.
one scene where all the ghosts from the previous souls, the people that it killed before, and
yeah,
they were
they
like
all just
walking up
kinda-
on her, and then they had opened their mouth, and it was all the alarms going off.
Yep.
That was fucking nerve wracking.
I know. See, Mike Flanagan's really good at directing like suspense and
Yeah.
jump scares and or like things that make you like freaked out,
Right. Like cringy moments. Because like I said, the only thing that gets me in horror movies is jump scares and cringe.
Right.
Those are the two things. So this movie did have those moments for me.
I used to hate jump scares, and I still sort of.
I hate them.
Yeah.
But they're the only thing that really gets me.
Well, like because what I hate about jump scares and stuff sometimes is when they do it too much.
Yeah.
It's like Conjuring or something, where it's like okay, like it becomes almost like a parody when they're like, we're just scare you. Oh nope, that's something else. And then somebody else walks up. Oh nope, that's somebody else. But it's not the killer. And then eventually the killer comes. And I'm just like, after a while, I'm just like, come on. Like I'm getting tired of this.
You don't want to be desensitized to it from too much of it. You want it to be unexpected, not feel like it's going to happen every 5 minutes.
And I feel like they do that, a lot in this.
I do feel like the jump scare is just a cheap rise out of you though it's just like a cheap little jump scare. It's like, oh, we got you because you flinched because something jumped at you. It's not that you saw it and figured it was scary. It's not that it bugs you. It's just the fact that it popped out of nowhere. It's just kind of a cheap shot to me.
Because like when it makes a really tense scene and then someone comes and breaks that tension, it kind of makes you like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, the most effective one, and we talked about it earlier, was the sheets and then the guy coming up and talking. That was the most effective jump scare because I was just like I was waiting for something to happen. It didn't. And I was sort of a little bit disappointed though, because I wanted to see what was behind that other one.
It was so early in the movie. I think it was just wanting to be like, get you on that edge of but not yet,
just like the mirror did, sort of. I feel like the mirror was fucking with her too, because she was giving him she was giving the mirror some attitude, and the mirror was like,
that's what I said. They're picking on each other. She's like, I bet you're hungry. I hope it hurts. She's like, look at the ghost behind you, bitch.
Like, hey,
you want to play this game? Okay, I'm watching you.
Because that was the first time, like, where we, as the audience, are sort of seeing the mirror in itself, and we don't know that it plays tricks on people, right? So we thought that literally was a ghost behind us. We thought, like in this picture, like that she wasn't there. She wasn't really there.
Yeah. I mean, I was under the impression, since she was seeing it only in the mirror and not when she turned around at first, that it was the mirror playing the joke on her.
Yeah.
I mean, then when they went out to the parlor when they were at the house and they were discussing all the plants starting to die, then they go back into the room and all the electronics moved into that one spot. And she rewatched the tapes and it just showed them moving the cameras.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see that the stuff that when they thought they left the room, came back and it moved, that they actually moved it themselves but don't remember it.
Yeah.
It was like the take between reality and their hallucination.
So when the police watch those tapes, they're going to see them doing everything and be like, oh, it was just them.
Yeah. Because there's no proof of the ghost or whatever. So talk about the ending. Like, we didn't discuss that yet. I think we're saving that for the end, because that scene gets me.
And the mirror just wanted a hug.
got its hug at the end, yeah, for sure. It was so fucked up because, like, he thought, oh man, I'm just gonna destroy this thing.
Be over with it. Just break it. I'm gonna turn the dial, release the kill switch.
And he didn't know where she went. I think he thought she was gone, or something.
It's weird that he didn't try to acknowledge where she was in the house to make sure she was okay, or to have her in sight, because I'm not exactly sure where he thought she was, but we do know that he did not see her in the room with him. Like, as far as his knowledge, she was not in that room. Right. But it was also flashing back to, the past, where, it was the mother spirit was in the mirror, like reaching out for the young her to be like, mom's here, like I'm here, and her reaching out, and you can see the arm. This is the first time you actually saw something like come out of the mirror. You could see her arms out of the mirror, looking to embrace her young daughter with a hug. And you get that moment of, mom, there you are. She looking normal and everything, finally giving her a hug and just having the sense of
closure,
a little bit of closure. And that's, when the reality shifts of, we thought that was just a past memory, but it turns out that,
that was happening at that moment for her.
Was actually hugging in the mirror, hugging her mom in the mirror, and brother just couldn't see it.
Yeah,
and the anchor became the crown.
And then you get that gory scene, with the anchor in the back of her head, which is one of the there's a lot. Like, so there's some blood and stuff in the movie, but I think that was like the gore scene in the movie.
That was the goriest, for sure.
Yeah. Well, the goriest I thought was where the mother's teeth were obviously
I didn't really consider that goryist, because I could kind of see her teeth broken up and blood on her mouth, but I was like, I see that in almost every horror movie. So that wasn't really it was gore, but it wasn't really oh no, where the anchor in her head. You always like those gory moments where something goes through somebody's head and you can see the splicing and stuff. I always consider those pretty gory.
This is why we watch horror movies,
right? To see somebody's head get split apart.
Exactly, which I love. Right? You can't, if you're a horror film lover, you gotta love these.
Because even the plaster through the guy's neck and the bleeding out, you see that through everything. And yes, you do see head smashing through everything, but I will consider that death in the movie to probably be the climax death of the movie.
There's a lot of child choking in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of the kids get choked out.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says, but
yeah, that mirror really made them really domestically violent.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to be a little bit of psychological thriller for people too, who have suffered from child abuse, or parents who they thought were getting divorced or were cheating and screaming. Anybody with a history of family violence or domestic violence, probably are going to see all that and feel a connection of some sort to it, and that could add to the fear.
There's a lot of possible trigger moments when watching this film.
Animals,
like domestic violence, like broken home, like cheating, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, which I think just adds to the fact of the suspense and the thriller part.
Yeah,
but it also, like we said earlier, trauma seems to be the big key thing. Everybody has some kind of trauma. Even I guess some of the people that were before, I love the fact that they talked about the lady who worked at the bank. And she started freaking out about the mirror and everything, and it's the idea of antiques, right? You don't know what you're buying, when you get something that old. And, I don't know if this is a demon that's inside this thing, or if it's like a demigod, like we saw in Glorious, or something like that. Did you see that, Cody? Did you see Glorious?
You didn't watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I watched it.
Man,
I was at home when I watched that one. I explained it to him. It was the one with the glory hole monster.
Oh, okay.
That's the best way to describe it.
There you go.
That's what it is. That's why it's called Glory.
See, that makes me want to watch it.
Oh yeah. I'll show it to him.
I've got to see the glory hole monster.
Right? So yes, so the mirror monster, we didn't really get to see its true form, but we got to see all of its victims, which was pretty cool.
And we
but
sort
you
of heard
never
its
know
voice, I guess,
yeah, you
because
never know with like old antiques and stuff like that, their backstory. So we have no really true answer on this mirror where its possession really is from, whether it's a demon or possession or what it is. But we know it's some creepy shit.
You know what? It would have been even creepier had that neighbor got invited in
Been
the
eaten.
house, and then got eaten by the mirror,
right?
or
all
whatever.
Of a sudden, like, oh, I'm here to help you kids. And all of a sudden his eyes closed. He's like, no, I'm here to beat you kids.
Yeah.
that seemed to be what the mirror wanted. The mirror did not like those kids.
Well, because the kids seemed kind of immune to it.
Yeah.
Well, that was okay. So we didn't really talk about that. That was a little weird how in the past only the adults seemed to really be affected by the possession. The kids did not.
Yeah, the kids the whole time are like not buying it, not
right. It wasn't
liking
affecting them. But maybe it was though, unless because like I said, the older son, who's like, oh, I remember the dog going to the vet being put down. You remember him not coming out of the room. So either he was possessed by the mirror and the mirror made him think that, or the psychological clinic just convinced him that his memory was wrong.
I don't think it was. I don't think it's a possession in that scene, in those scenes. I don't think like it possesses you to see anything. It just sort of has this ability to make you think that way. So it's not like you're not possessed by the mirror, like like when I think of possessions, I think of the glowing eyes and stuff like that.
Which the adults did have the glowing eyes though. They had the glowing eyes when they were trying to kill each other. That was possession.
And another thing, did this mirror make all adults like the weakest people in the world? Because when the kids would slam the door shut and the mother would just like slam against the door trying to open it, but like it's two kids holding the door,
right?
You would be able to like knock that door down if you're after those kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's funny. I have never didn't even think about that.
Or
maybe they make the parents weaker.
Nutrition like deprivation, so she just was too weak to.
Yeah, I just think they just did it because they're like, well, we won't have a movie if she's just strong and kills the kids over it, like.
Yeah.
But like the dad picked the kid up and like held her, but like it was
the
dad was stronger.
Always interesting on their strength.
The whole power dynamics.
Yeah,
but maybe that's another interesting thing is like the mother was weaker than the father,
because I mean she was up there not eating for like a week or two because she was driven crazy by the mirror.
Right. But at the time when she was banging on the kid's door, she wasn't locked up yet. That was before that.
Oh,
that was before she got, because the dad came home and found her beating on the door, and then he locked her up.
And then he let her go, and she stood up, stared at him, and ran after the kids.
Yep.
It was like, get those kids.
Get those kids. The mirror did not like those kids, for real.
Yeah, I think that was just because it was a threat. They were a threat to existence.
Also, the father was like possessed by this thing too.
Oh, yeah.
Like the whole thing. So it was almost like both of them were. And so I was surprised they locked her up. I thought he would keep her out because he'd want, whatever. Because they were both work together. It's kind of like Ghostbusters with Zool, like
the possession kind of came and gone, which is why sometimes the eyes closed, sometimes they didn't. Because even in the end, when the gun was pointed at him, he seemed like he kind of lost his possession with just enough to help his son grab the trigger and pull it.
Yeah. He was like, finish this.
Yeah.
So it gave like a sense of closure.
Because even when the mom got shot and was choking her kid, she stopped choking her and she came to and she's like, what am I doing? How did I get here? And that's when the kid's like, Mom, and then she got shot.
Yep. She got shot by the dad, right?
And so they were going in and out of it,
Yep.
I mean, when he would leave the house for a long period of time and he would come back, it seemed like he was
Because he got away from it.
Yeah.
Once you're out of that distance, because it only goes. They were testing it with the plant, so there's a radius that this mirror can get to you. After a certain radius, its power goes away.
Yeah.
So leave the house for a while and get out of it.
Okay, this is going to be a hot take for you guys, and maybe this isn't what the writers originally wanted, and whatever, man, because it's one of those movies where you can have your own thoughts and your own feelings because it's a psychological thriller. What if none of this happened? What if the mirror wasn't really doing this stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what if all of the things that she thought were actually not really happening? Like, she just thought that was all in her head and everything, and that was just her mental whatever.
Right. What if the son was right and he's like, no, dad was just a deranged murderer who ruined our family.
Exactly. See, that's the thing with this movie is like, there's no real right or wrong, right? There's only what they allow you to see, right? So like, it could be that this movie, didn't have any supernatural stuff. Like the kid, was fucked up, because maybe they both
drove herself crazy by thinking about it too much,
Yeah, they both thought about it too much.
It was her white whale.
So then he's the one who goes into jail because he was the one who shot his father.
Right.
Now, maybe the father killed the mother. That's what they've said, right? Like that's the thing. And maybe the son could have always said self-defense, but he used the mirror. Because I was
wondering why the self-defense thing, like why he got punished for killing his dad and self-defense, and technically his dad also helped him pull the trigger. So in a legal standpoint, that didn't make sense, but he wasn't really in jail. He was in a mental institution.
Because he came out screaming
he was screaming that it was the mirror. So
exactly.
It leads me to believe more that he wasn't really charged a whole lot with the fact that his dad ended up getting shot, but more with the fact that he was mentally insane. They thought he was mentally insane. Yeah.
So they thought he was mentally insane because at the beginning of the movie, remember, they say basically they're letting him out because he is now fine, because he is
cognizant that the mirror was not the thing controlling the action.
So the fucking was it the sister brings the whole thing up and makes it reopen this wound that reopens this whole thing that makes them
that's kind of a bad sister. Like, bro, like he's fine, he's doing good, why can't you just let him be happy?
Toxic family.
He's been locked up half his life. This is his first day outside and you already got him going back in.
Basically, he has to go back in, and on top of that, he's going to prison this time because they see the thing, so he's not just going to.
Yeah, they're gonna think he murdered her.
Yeah, he might stay in a mental hospital for a little bit, but he should be going to prison for murder of his sister, which it wouldn't have happened had she not done that. So, I mean, understandably, that's
because he got it from an auction, right? Like she was at an auction at the beginning of the film.
She went to the auction to buy it for this purpose because she wanted it back.
So if she would have,
and then she lied to the fiance.
Yeah, she just wouldn't have gone back to go get it.
She lied to the fiance. Saying basically somebody else bought it or whatever, and all this other shit. And she also lied to the brother, though. She said she only had a certain amount of days.
Whatever she had to try to get evidence on this mirror and get revenge with this mirror. And you knew when you saw that anchor up there. Even the brother knew it. He looked at it. He was like, "This is dangerous." It's like you knew when you saw it. It was like something's going to happen.
Well, I thought it was going to work. And I was so excited. I hadn't seen it forever, but like when I saw it again, I was like, "Oh, is this how it ends?"
They did show the mirror could defend itself. That every time somebody tried to break it, they would either talk themselves out of putting down the weapon, or they would hit the wall next to it. So they did already kind of show that if you were to try to break the mirror, it was going to defend itself.
Well, okay, I say that, but like. There's one scene.
Ran up to it to hit it, and they hit next to it. They couldn't hit it. They ran up to it to charge it, and they hit the wall next to it.
With the club.
And then he grabbed the chair to smash it, and before you knew it, he had sat the chair down to talk to her, and that's where she's like, "See, you can't do it."
where she threw the stapler at the the mom threw the stapler because she saw damage all written all over.
Right. The only damage that actually happened to it is when the dad fell into it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then but they also mentioned that some guy tried to do it, and then he got possessed or whatever, went out into traffic and got killed.
Right.
So
he couldn't bring himself to do it, and then ended up killing himself.
So there's what she probably didn't. The thing killed him, or whatever. Or none of this happened. Like all of the.
What if it was all just warped reality?
Yeah,
right. It all could just be warped reality,
One of my favorite things in the world. We talked about Dybbuk box, but there was a eBay item that I saw once, and it was the best eBay item ever. I wish I bought it. It got bought by for a lot of money. It was a haunted rubber ducky. It was the best idea ever. The guy talked about, they had this whole story about how they bought it at some yard sale. It seemed normal. The son started using it, started doing all these weird shit. Whatever. I was like, damn, that is amazing. That rubber ducky, I forgot how much it got bought for, but he was like, I need to get this out of my house. If you really want to, you just got to know the real story of whatever. It's some dude bought that rubber ducky, and it's not going to do a damn thing.
It's just a regular rubber ducky.
It's just some regular rubber ducky, but they're very smart.
The thing I never understood is if you know what a Dybbuk box is, because there's hundreds of them all over eBay. Like if you believe that this exists and you know what they are, why the fuck would you want that in your house?
Because people want to do what we're talking about right now, which is they want to prove that it doesn't exist. So they spend $10,000 or whatever to buy a stupid little box that some person bought for like $5 at a Goodwill.
Right. Wax and smells like shit.
I mean, it's a very smart idea, but it's like annoying because can you ask for your money back once? I guess
there was no ghost in here. I had no possession. I opened it.
My family didn't kill themselves.
Right?
God damn it!
Money back.
Can I get my money back?
Still here.
I wonder, if a mirror like this, actually were to exist, for real to exist, then how does once you buy it from an auction like that, can you complain if everybody in my family died?
Right. If she had went with all this paperwork she found of all the history of it and be like, hey, you sold me a haunted ass mirror.
Yeah, but they're like, well, sorry, no refunds.
When they sell the mirror, they need to give the envelope of all the murders with the mirror.
Well, kind of like haunted houses. Right.
They probably make more money off the mirror,
Yeah.
Yeah, because haunted houses, they tell you straight up or whatever. Houses are, I believe, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've been told that houses, if somebody died in a house, they have to let you know that.
Disclose it.
Yeah.
Disclose that information. So if people died next to this mirror, or whatever, then I guess you don't really have to disclose that information because the mirror's not a house. You don't live in the mirror. Right.
But if somebody's like, I see all these spirits coming out of this mirror, she'd be like, it's been rumored to have spirits in it.
And I mean, haunted and serial killer memorabilia collectibles are always a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they could make more money if they disclose that information.
See, if she would have decided to flip the mirror with all of her evidence instead of trying to kill it.
Flip it, I'm just going to give it to somebody else.
No, sell the house because the house was hers and empty. Sell the house with the mirror in it, with all the murder paperwork, and be like, do y'all want to buy a murder house with a haunted mirror?
That Amityville shit happened here.
Right?
Forget the Bell Witch, Yeah. We got the real shit right here in this mirror.
And maybe the mirror will go in on it and convince a buyer to spend all this money on it so it can kill them, and just keep doing that over and over again, and then they can work together.
She's like a Black Widow for the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a real estate lady, you know. She's there like, hey,
Just keeps
want to buy
reselling this house over and over again. We're working with the mirror. Every time the mirror helps get her a bigger commission, you know, she gives it a dog
oh
or a plant.
that's terrible. Even the plants,
Really
man,
good.
because
You could
like
Australian Shepherd.
We've come up with a sequel.
that's actually not a bad idea for Mike Flanagan and Jeff Foward.
Or
Write
for
that.
horror parodies. It'll be the
we'll
horror
help.
parody. You know, like scary movies. You know, it'd be a horror parody. You know,
It's like if y'all are watching this, we get rights to it. Damn it.
Yeah.
I want 10% of all sales.
But no, that's a fantastic idea for somebody who has a haunted house that they know people are gonna die in, you know?
Right.
You know,
It's like the Santa Clarita Diet, but
Yeah.
with a haunted house instead of zombies, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Keep flipping the house.
Well, I guess that's about
That's
it.
a good place to end is with us laughing and not crying, right?
Oh,
come to
man.
me for more cool ideas. I always have a lot of them.
I do too. So like, you know, combined forces is scary. But no, this was great. This is a fun little one. Next month we can mention what we're gonna do because we know what we're gonna do and we have no plans of changing it. What are we gonna do, Sarah?
November.
Oh no, next month is actually gonna be December because this comes out.
Okay, it's Krampus. Yeah,
Krampus.
we're doing Krampus, right? Yeah. Okay. I couldn't remember exactly where we were in the months of the podcast, but yes, we're doing Krampus, which we have a copy. It's like he owns it. He's seen it. I've seen it about 50 times because I used to bring it to work and show it to all my coworkers. And you just bought your copy, but I couldn't remember if you've seen it yet. You said you haven't
not.
seen it.
I've never seen it, so I'm excited.
It's new for you.
I've been wanting to see it because I love Trick or Treat. Which the same director did,
and it's got some great actors in it. It's got a little bit of the comedy aspect that I like, but it's also scary. And it's a Christmas themed movie, and it's a pretty good take on Krampus, I think. So it'll be nice to hear the perspective of a fresh viewer who's never seen it, and then of somebody who's seen it so many times they've could quote it for a while.
Oh well. We might try to get a guest on if we can. But what is it? But next season, we'll definitely get more guests because I love doing it with you, Sarah, and everything. And Cody,
nice
you are always welcome.
Person to bounce off of, and that's why, whenever we're short, I drag Cody into it. He has to watch the movies with me most of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So might as well.
But I missed the glory hole monster.
Oh, all right. I'll show you the glory hole monster later, or maybe you could show him to me. We'll see.
All righty. Well, everybody, on that note, thank you guys so much for checking this out and join us next month for Krampus. We're really excited. We can't wait to do that one too. And that'll be the season finale is in December. So I'm really ready. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of these shows are coming up on their season finale, and I'm like, good God,
right.
I'm sort of happy, but I'm like, oh man, did we already do almost 10? This is the 9th episode this season. So that's crazy. But we've just been busy doing a bunch of these things.
Yep, time flies. We'll have a new list soon. But next one is gonna be Krampus, so can't wait.
So if you guys check that out, that'll be awesome. And we hope you guys join us back. If you've seen Oculus, sadly, by the time this comes out, Oculus will no longer be on Tubi.
I watched it on Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu for free?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. It was on Tubi as well.
If you have a Hulu subscription, it's free.
Okay. Yeah. I got Hulu, but if you got Hulu, you can watch Oculus. I think it might be on HBO Max or something too. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I was happy to find it on Hulu, so I didn't have to rent it. So by the time this comes out, you should still be able to go watch it on Hulu. And if not, if you do happen to have to pay $3 to watch it on a rental service, I do recommend it and think it is totally worth it. But you should have already seen it.
If you're listening to this podcast, because we literally just ruined everything.
Because we ruined the whole goddamn thing.
Spoiled the whole fucking movie. But if you haven't seen it since 2013, that's your fault. you know, like it's not like we're talking about Halloween Ends, which we do spoiler reviews of that too. But yeah, we're not we're talking about older movies that we love.
Right.
You know.
But go
So
watch Krampus so you can be in touch with us on our next episode.
exactly.
We can MS23K it.
I always do.
That'll be fun. Yeah. All right, everybody, have a good one.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.